Thank you so much, spokesperson. We've seen that there have been statements made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry on the Zangan, which the Indian side claims as Arunachal Pradesh, and statements by Indian side and the Indian media commentary on this. What is Pakistan's comment on the Zangan region, which India calls as Arunachal Pradesh? Thank you.
Well, we have taken notes of the remarks by the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the media commentary in on this subject. Pakistan reiterates its consistent and full support for the China on matters concerning the sovereignty and territorial integrity of that country.
因保托，一位印度公民在社交媒体上表示，他从伦敦到日本，但是在上海拘留了18个小时。他来自阿鲁纳恰尔邦，主要是因为他的护照无效。关于阿鲁纳恰尔邦，他是从上海转机的一位印度公民。你能解释一下为什么他会在机场受到如此待遇吗？同时，印度的领事官员呼吁将其释放。中方对此何评论？
First of all, Jiangnan is China's territory. China never acknowledges the so-called Arunachal Pradesh, illegally set up by India. As for the individual case you mentioned, we've learned that during the whole process, China's border inspection authorities have gone through the whole process in accordance with laws and regulations and had just enforcement and fully protected the lawful rights and interests of the person concerned. There is no so-called compulsory measures, deterrent or harassment. The airlines also provided a place for rest, drinking and
追问刚才那一个问题，印度提出了交涉，印度拒绝了中方在阿鲁纳恰尔邦的立场，中方对此何评论？
关于
On the so-called Arunachal Pradesh, illegally set up by India, China has repeatedly said our position. Jiangnan is part of China's territory. China does not recognize the so-called Arunachal Pradesh, illegally set up by India. As for the individual case, I've just shared information on that. Let me reiterate that to having border control examinations on the persons entering our borders and making decisions according.
We want to say that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India, and this is a fact which is self-evident. No amount of denial by the Chinese side is going to change this indisputable reality. At the same time, I said that we did take up this matter. We did do a strong demarche with the Chinese side, both in Beijing and in Delhi, when the incident took place. At the same time, I would like to add further, since we are talking about, Madhu made a reference to SR talks as to what sort of impact these incidents will have on our ties going forward. So let me reiterate, maintenance of peace and tranquility in the border regions is a prerequisite for the continued and overall development of India-China bilateral relations. Our position in this regard has always been very clear and consistent. Since October 2024, both sides have worked closely to maintain peace and tranquility in the border regions, and it is on this basis that progress, especially in particular with focus on people-centric engagements, progress has been made. Arbitrary actions by China, as the one that we referred to, that I referred to, involving an Indian citizen from Arunachal Pradesh, are most unhelpful towards efforts being made by both sides to build mutual trust and understanding and gradually move towards normalization of bilateral relations.
One of the officials from the Chinese immigration came over and singled me out of the queue. Basically said, "Look, India, took my name and something and took me out." So I asked her what is happening, and she basically didn't say much and just basically asked me to follow her. Took me close to the e-gates where there is the immigration. The manual counters for the immigration, and then she went on to say, "Arunachal, not India, China. Your visa not acceptable. Your basically passport is invalid." Very confusing moment, obviously, because never heard of that before. We obviously are a proud Indian citizens, all residents of Arunachal Pradesh. And basically, she wouldn't give me an explanation. She wouldn't let me go back into the queue. Said you cannot board the plane. Then other officials came. So actually, I probably interacted with around 10 other immigration officers. So another lady came, took me to another part of the airport. And in fact, when I tried to question them and ask them what was the issue, they said Arunachal is not part of India, very clearly. And they said, "You should apply," and started mocking and laughing and saying things like, "You should apply for Chinese passport. You're Chinese, you're not Indian." Some mockery around there. Then basically they took me to the transfer desk of China Eastern, which is next to an immigration desk. And they would just keep basically sending me from one desk to the other. So if I ask the Chinese airline, they tell me to go to the immigration tells me to go to them. And they basically didn't give me a straight answer. I said, "Where is the law? What rights have you got to hold me back here?" So ultimately it took about 18 hours for me to get out of Shanghai.